What happened when a talk show host pushed Melania Trump too far? The answers shocked the world. The camera swept over a buzzing live audience in Los Angeles, where the brightly lit set radiated the unmistakable energy of a primetime talk show. Viewers at home anticipated the usual mix of humor and sharp political commentary. Alex Brooks, the host, a well-known liberal figure with a knack for grilling his guests, sat confidently, his polished grin illuminated by studio lights. The evening seemed like it would follow the typical script until it didn't. And now, Alex began, his tone laced with mischief. "We have a very special guest, someone you'd never expect to see here." A wave of curiosity rippled through the crowd, murmurs filling the room. Then, as if choreographed for maximum drama, Melania Trump stepped out from backstage. She wore a sleek ivory suit, her posture radiating elegance and strength. The audience gasped, caught off guard by her unannounced arrival. Some clapped hesitantly, while others exchanged puzzled looks. Even Alex appeared momentarily unsettled. He quickly masked his surprise with his signature smirk as Melania approached the host's chair with calm confidence. "Thank you for having me," she said, her accent soft yet deliberate. The audience's reaction was a mix of intrigue and skepticism, setting the stage for a night no one would forget. While the initial exchanges felt routine, the atmosphere shifted dramatically when the conversation turned personal. Alex began with his usual charm, leaning back in his chair and crossing one leg over the other. Offering a polite smile, he asked, "So, Melania, it's been quite a journey since your time in the White House. What's life like now?" Melania met his gaze without hesitation. "Life is peaceful," she said calmly, her voice steady. "I focus on my family, my projects, and helping children through my initiatives." Alex nodded, but the glint of mischief in his eyes suggested he wasn't here for a simple chat. The audience could sense his intent, yet Melania's composure seemed to throw him off, even if only momentarily. As she detailed her work supporting underprivileged children and advocating for mental health awareness, the crowd listened intently. After a brief pause, Alex leaned forward. "Interesting," he said, his tone sharpening. "But let's be honest, many have criticized you for staying silent on controversial issues during your time as First Lady. How do you respond to that?" The room grew tense, the audience holding its breath in anticipation. Melania remained poised, her hands resting gently on her lap, as she prepared to address the pointed question. "I believe actions speak louder than words," she said calmly. "It's easy to talk, but harder to make a real difference. I focus on what I can do, not on what others expect me to say." Her response created a subtle shift in the atmosphere, but Alex leaned forward slightly, his expression sharpening, clearly ready to press harder. The tension in the room thickened as Alex smirked, tapping his pen against the armrest. "Actions speak louder than words, interesting philosophy. But don't you think some moments demand words, especially when the stakes are so high?" His tone carried a subtle edge, testing the waters for what he was about to say next. Melania tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "I believe people have their roles. My role was to support my husband and our country in my own way," she replied. Alex raised an eyebrow, his voice gaining an almost provocative tone. "And supporting him meant staying silent, even when his actions or words created division?" The question hung heavy in the air, bold and incendiary. A few gasps rippled through the audience as Alex leaned back, folding his arms, clearly expecting a defensive response. The room buzzed with anticipation, every eye glued to Melania. The tension in the room was almost tangible, but Melania didn't flinch. Instead, she allowed the silence to hang for a moment, her gaze steady and unwavering. "Division has always existed," she said finally, her voice calm and measured. "Blaming one person for it is easy, but it doesn't solve the problem. I choose to focus on unity, not blame." The audience murmured, their reactions a mix of surprise and admiration. Alex seemed momentarily caught off guard, but he quickly composed himself. "Fair point," he admitted. "But speaking of unity, there are rumors, controversies, things people want to hear from you directly. For example, your marriage. A collective gasp rippled through the room, the atmosphere growing heavy as the conversation veered into deeply personal territory. Melania's expression remained composed, though a flicker in her eyes, a spark of determination, hinted she was ready for this moment. What followed, however, turned the interview into something no one could have predicted. Alex leaned in, his voice dropping just enough to make the moment feel both intimate and charged, leaving the audience on the edge of their seats. "Let's address the elephant in the room, Melania," Alex said, his tone loaded with anticipation. "Many have questioned your choices, your silence during some of the most tumultuous times in recent history, and even your relationship with the former president. Are you here to set the record straight?" The audience leaned forward, some whispering among themselves, sensing they were on the brink of a confrontation that promised fireworks. Alex's smirk widened, confident he was about to corner his guest. But Melania didn't take the bait. Instead, she straightened her posture, her expression calm yet commanding. "I am here to speak for myself," she said firmly, her accent carrying a subtle sharpness. "Not for rumors, not for stories made by people who do not know me." Alex opened his mouth to interject, but she wasn't finished. Her voice gained strength, slicing through the room like a razor. "Everyone has opinions," she continued, her words deliberate and unshaken. "But opinions are not facts. I know who I am, and I know what I stand for. The rest is just noise." The crowd fell silent, the weight of her words settling over them. Even Alex, known for his quick wit and relentless questions, seemed momentarily stunned. His smirk faltered, replaced by something that resembled genuine surprise as Melania's unwavering gaze swept across the audience. "It is easy to judge someone from the outside," Melania added, her voice calm but firm, "harder to look inside yourself and ask why you feel the need to judge." The room erupted into applause, with some rising to their feet. Alex, still trying to recover, stammered as he attempted to regain control. "Well, that's, quite a perspective. But surely you understand why people feel," Melania cut him off with a small, polite smile. "I understand more than you think," she said, her composure unshaken. The applause grew louder, but Alex wasn't finished. His next move raised the stakes even higher. Leaning forward, his pen forgotten in his hand, Alex's voice took on a sharper tone, daring her to falter. "You know, Melania, there's something people have always been curious about. How do you reconcile your platform of unity and kindness with some of the more, let's say, controversial statements your husband made, statements that many say divided the nation?" The room fell into an uneasy silence, all eyes darting between Alex and Melania. It was a question designed to corner her, to push her onto the defensive. The audience braced for a deflection or an outburst. But Melania, ever composed, didn't miss a beat. Melania placed her hands gently on her lap, her expression calm yet resolute. "People see what they want to see," she began. "My work has always been focused on helping children, promoting kindness, and showing respect. I cannot control what others say or do, but I can control how I act, and I choose kindness." Alex raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed, seeing her response as too vague. "But surely," he pressed, "there were moments when you could have spoken out, taken a stand." Melania's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, her voice cutting through his interruption. "Taking a stand is not always about shouting the loudest," she said firmly. "Sometimes, it's about staying true to your values, even when it's not popular." The audience erupted into applause, some even cheering, as her words resonated. Alex, momentarily stunned, seemed unsure of his next move, but his hesitation was brief. He leaned back, letting out a small laugh as if to regain his footing. "Fair enough," he conceded, "but let's not ignore the fact that silence can also be seen as complicity." Melania tilted her head slightly, her expression cool yet sharp. "And words without action," she replied, her voice unwavering, "can be seen as hypocrisy." She countered, her tone steady yet resolute, and the room erupted, the energy now electrified as the audience reacted with a mix of shock and admiration. Alex's confidence visibly wavered, his face shifting as he realized this wasn't going as planned. But the moment that truly silenced the room was still to come. Adjusting his tie, Alex seemed to search for a way to regain control, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a knife. Every word now felt weighted, each moment stretched. Finally, he leaned forward and asked the question no one thought he'd dare to. "Melania," he began, his tone deliberately measured, "do you ever regret marrying Donald Trump?" A collective gasp rippled through the audience, even the camera crew momentarily frozen in shock. The question wasn't just bold, it was deeply personal. All eyes turned to Melania, waiting for her response. For a moment, she remained silent, her expression unreadable, the pause stretching long enough to make everyone, including Alex, squirm. Then she spoke, her voice calm yet piercing. "Regret is for those who do not take responsibility for their choices," she said, her words cutting through the tension like a blade. "I know who I married," Melania said, her voice steady. "I know the life I chose, and I stand by it, not because it is easy, but because it is mine." The audience erupted into applause, louder and more unified than before, with some people even standing to clap in admiration. Alex blinked, his composure cracking for the first time that evening. He opened his mouth to speak, but Melania wasn't finished. "We live in a world where it's easy to criticize from the sidelines," she continued, her tone unwavering. "But the truth is, you cannot understand someone's life unless you've lived it. And I do not owe anyone an explanation for my choices." The applause grew deafening, with the crowd clearly rallying behind her. Alex leaned back in his chair, visibly humbled, his earlier bravado now gone. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling was even more surprising. As the cameras cut to commercial, the studio buzzed with chatter, a mix of awe and disbelief. Melania had not only held her own against Alex's relentless questioning, she had completely turned the tables. Behind the scenes, the producers scrambled, some furiously typing notes, others speaking into headsets about the segment's viral potential. Meanwhile, on stage, Alex leaned toward Melania, his earlier confidence replaced by a more subdued demeanor. "I'll admit," he said with a half-smile, "I didn't expect you to handle that so gracefully." Melania regarded him with a polite smile, her tone measured as always. "I don't play games, Alex. I speak the truth, and that is enough." The comment hung in the air, and Alex, caught off guard by her sincerity, seemed almost apologetic. The once commanding host now appeared humbled. "Fair enough," he muttered, offering a nod of respect. Backstage, staff members and guests whispered as Melania passed by, her presence commanding attention. Some were eager to compliment her composure, while others were simply stunned by her ability to dominate the conversation without raising her voice. She thanked them graciously but didn't linger. As she exited the building, a crowd of reporters and photographers had already gathered outside. Questions came flying from all directions. "Melania, do you think Alex went too far? Were you prepared for this interview? Do you have anything else to say?" She paused for a moment, then turned to face the flashing cameras. "I said what needed to be said," she stated simply, nothing more. Without another word, she stepped into her car, leaving the crowd buzzing in her wake. By the next morning, her words had sparked a nationwide debate that couldn't be ignored. By dawn, clips of the interview had spread like wildfire across social media, with hashtags like #MelaniaSpeaks and #MelaniaVS.Alex trending worldwide. People from both sides of the political spectrum weighed in, dissecting every word, every gesture, every nuance of the exchange. Cable news networks replayed the moment on a loop, with pundits passionately debating its significance. Whether Alex had crossed a line or if Melania's responses were a masterclass in grace under pressure, the debate raged on. Some called her poised and unshakable, while others claimed she had sidestepped accountability. Regardless of opinion, one fact was undeniable: she had captivated the nation. The conversations weren't limited to television. Coffee shop chats, workplace discussions, and family dinner tables buzzed with questions about the boundaries of professionalism and personal respect in interviews. Could an interviewer truly seek the truth without overstepping? Was it fair to put someone's private life under such scrutiny? Amid the frenzy, Melania issued no further statements, letting her words from the interview speak for themselves. Her silence wasn't evasive, but deliberate, a reminder that sometimes restraint can make the loudest impact. In the weeks that followed, Alex Burks addressed the interview on his show, admitting that he may have underestimated his guest. "I'll say this," he told his audience, "whether you agree with her or not, Melania Trump knows how to command a room." For many, the takeaway wasn't just about Melania or Alex, but about the broader lesson of handling adversity with dignity. In an age of heated debates and viral sound bites, her composure became a rare example of rising above chaos. As the headlines faded, one thing remained clear: moments like this remind us of the power of measured words, the strength of self-awareness, and the importance of standing firm in one's truth. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind.